Hey, it's Doug. Welcome into the CCM Cafe. I am here with the man, the myth, the legend, Steven Curtis Chapman.
What's going on, everybody? It's great to be here, brother. Great to see you all. And gosh, always good to get to hang out with you. We've been hanging out for some years now, have we not?
Yeah, there's this
Yes,
picture
yes.
here of us back at Marriott's Great America.
You showed me that, and that is just unbelievable. The mullet is glorious. Is the only word for it. Glorious, unfolding mullet. And
The T-shirt.
the Jetsons T-shirt is so on point, but it is so long gone, and everybody that sees that picture is like, please tell me you still have that Jetsons. And in particular, my kids, because like, Dad, that would be so cool right now, so vintage. And I'm like, that's one of the many, many things that have gone by the wayside over the years of my wife coming into my closet going, you're going to have to get rid of some T-shirts in this closet, and some hats, and some this and some that. So long, long gone. But if anybody could find that Jetsons T-shirt and return it to me, there would be a handsome reward. I'll just say that. There could be a very handsome reward for that T-shirt. So,
Some guy at the Goodwill.
yeah, it's like,
This is Jetsons.
hey, man, this is it.
Well,
Gosh.
and springboard from Jetson, I guess, to touch on something that you recently had the opportunity to do. Did you ever think in 91, 92, when we took that picture, that you would be in a cartoon?
Gosh, no way. And particularly, I mean, you could have said, pick any cartoon character, any character you grew up, being a fan of, and you will get to be the voice of that character. Who would it be? And I hands down would have said, Baloo the Bear, Jungle Book. Are you kidding? I mean, look for those bare necessities. I mean, we all knew the song at that point in time. And he was just the coolest. He's like the coolest bear, on the planet. And I loved that song when I was a kid. Listened to it all the time. So years ago, a good friend of mine who actually he's the head of character voices, Rick Dempsey, at Disney out in Los Angeles. Once upon a time, years ago, 20 years ago, he said, man, I'm looking for a new voice of Baloo the Bear. The guy who originally voiced him, Phil Harris, passed away many years ago. And he said, we're doing a reboot of Jungle Book. And long story short, I said, let me I want to be Baloo the Bear. So I auditioned, almost got that movie, but then Bill Murray came in. Gosh, who's the guy? Well, Bill Murray did Baloo the Bear, but at the time, John Goodman came in and said, I want to do that. And so, of course, John Goodman, well, we're going to take him. So I didn't get the part, but I did end up getting to kind of do some voicing of Baloo the Bear for like a Sony PlayStation game. They're still out there somewhere. People every now and then will say, I got this PlayStation game and you're the voice of Baloo the Bear. So 20 years fast forward, I get a call from the same friend of mine, Rick, and he says, hey, it's crazy, but Andy Samberg and Seth Rogen and all these guys, these Saturday Night Live guys, they all have kids now, and they want to do a reboot of Rescue Rangers. Chippendale Rescue Rangers? Yeah. And they're doing a live action CGI, really interesting, kind of cool thing. And Baloo the Bear shows up in this movie. And so they're looking for a voice, and they've got like 20 people on the list, but I think you would be perfect. So I sent in an audition and got the part. So my grandkids now what's really funny is now my kids used to think it was cool. Now my grandkids think it's the coolest thing that, their pop-up, as they call me, is Baloo the Bear.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And a quick plug for the film. I thoroughly enjoyed that as an adult. There are so many little Easter eggs and fun stuff back in there.
It was so fun. I know, I agree. It was actually really good. I was like, please be good. And, they told me, because my friend said it is because you would not be sure, when you consider some of the things that those guys have created, it might not be something, that I should be a part of or want to be. But it was, very good and very fun. So.
That's awesome. Well, celebrating 35 years, I printed this out just so that I could read this. And I know you're a humble guy.
Yeah.
When it comes to accolades, though, I'm just like, this is the most awarded artist in Christian music. 5 Grammy Awards, 59 Dove Awards, which is a record, 7 Artist of the Year Dove Awards, record, 10 million albums sold, and just received the BMI Icon Award, the first and only CCM artist to ever be given that prestigious honor.
Crazy.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, bud. Well, it's amazing journey, because we've been doing this since the mullet years and the Jetson T-shirt years. And the last guy on the planet back in that picture that would have ever imagined 35 years later, getting it still tell these stories, sing these songs, and all just because of the faithfulness of God, get the opportunity to have this truly great adventure. You know, I wrote the song, obviously, about that, but just this great adventure that music has taken me on, and God has taken me on, my faith, and just people like yourself who, you know, been a part of that journey. I think that's what's been so special about this 35 years, and even you mentioned that BMI Icon Award. I received that, which was just a crazy honor when you look at the list of the BMI, which is Broadcast Music Incorporated, a performance rights organization that all songwriters are affiliated with one of 3 of those. So pretty much anybody who's ever written a song, you know, has an affiliation. So it's this list of Sting and John Williams, the film composer. I mean, all these people, David Foster, you know, all this. And then, you know, I get to be added to this list. And what was so special, though, is I looked around the room that night, because they did a big celebration and honor kind of dinner. And it was just full of all these people that were a part of my story and my journey. And, you know, you just realize, man, all these little connections that you never could have imagined where that would lead, just to have that relationship, that friendship, that person who connected you to this. And then God, you know, it's that great verse that says, you know, we make our plans, but God directs our steps. And you look over and over again, I'm sure you have that story, all of us do, if we look back. And now I have the gift of looking back, you know, remembering a 35-year journey of music and 38 years of marriage to Mary Beth, and, you know, all of this, and just see how amazing God has been to just, you know, direct the steps in ways. And sometimes it's been through some very, very dark valleys and dark places that you don't even know if you're going to survive. Songs that come out of that have touched people's lives and connected me with, you know, others. So it's an amazing thing, and thank you for being a part of it, because you have, throughout, I feel like that whole journey, all the way back to that picture, you've been helping me get the music out there. You've been talking with me and sharing my music, so I'm grateful for that.
Well, we're grateful for everything that you shared with us. Talk a little bit in terms of when someone from the outside looking in could be like, this guy's perfect, he's got everything, he's got the accolades. There's still self-doubt, there's still worry, there's still these other things. Talk a little bit about that balance.
Well, first thing you know could do, you know, is call my wife Mary Beth or my kids and go, how big of a knucklehead is Steven Curtis Chapman? How imperfect is he? And she would probably be happy on certain days to tell you and fill you in. That's the reason why no one will ever have her phone number, and hopefully she will never, ever tell the truth. No, we've paid our kids handsomely to make sure that they keep it, you know, all under. No, I'm making a joke, but it is true. I'm a mess, and it's been documented well in my songs. In fact, there's a lyric in a brand new song, because I have some new music that I'm just so thankful to get the opportunity to still get to have these conversations and to share, you know, these pages out of my faith and life journal, and just say, here's what's going on in my life at this point, and the perspective of that from now at this point in my life that was so different. I wouldn't have written these songs 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 20 years ago. I couldn't have written them, because I didn't have the perspective of life, the good and the bad and the ugly and the pain and the joy. And there's a lyric that says, you know, I've wrestled and I've rested and I've trusted and I've tested God's patience like a foolish man. It's been beautiful. It's been terrible, it's been more wonderful, it's been more painful than I ever could have known. Even so, still, I'm going to sing about the one who's given life to me. This is a song called Still, and in fact, that's going to be the title of this new music, this new album, record coming out, because that word still, God is still faithful. I still want to sing about it. I still have things that I want to share and say. But it's interesting you ask about that, because honestly, making a new album, making new music, I had to really go toe-to-toe with a whole lot of insecurity and a lot of kind of, you know, demons that sort of were whispering these little things that weren't even necessarily evil, awful thoughts, but one was just the fact that, you know, a lot of people, when you have been doing this as long as I have, and you say, hey, well, I've got a new song, man, I got something in my heart, and it's what you're most passionate about, because this is this new creation. And many times you lay that out there and people will be like, oh man, that's cool. You know what though, golly, the great adventure, that song, more to this life, I will be here. Oh man, there's never going to be another song like Cinderella. And so what they have done is encouraged you, blessed you, complimented you, and at the same time, basically what the insecure you takes away is, and you didn't even need to really waste your time or their time with this new music,
can't do
because
anything new
all they
anymore.
want to do is, you know, and it's amazing, but it's like this two-edged sword. It really is. You know, I went and saw a group, you know, my wife and I went and saw the Doobie Brothers recently. Well, I grew up loving their music and their records, and we went and we're like listening to all the songs, and they're like, hey, we got a new song. And it's like everybody at one time got up to go to the bathroom and get popcorn. It's like the whole place emptied out because they're going to play new music, you know. And so I get that, and there's a lot of insecurity that comes with that when you're an artist who, here's my baby, here's my newest, you know, most important, most meaningful thing I feel like I've ever done. And, you know, and people effectively kind of will go, hey, that's cool. Hey, but man, can we talk about this? And so, you know, you go through that process of kind of going, all right, that's never been the motivation, but I do have these things. I labor over these things because it's really important that it's crafted well, that it's said the best I can say it, that I do all the things I've done all these years to make the best art that I can. And then ultimately say, and God, you know, ultimately this is in your hands, and you will take it where it needs to go and encourage people with these songs and these new messages, while still embracing with full gratitude all the past, all the great songs that still speak truth to my heart and still encourage people, and receive those like, man, thank you. I will be here. As I still get to sing that song because I'm still, thankfully by God's grace, still here with my bride, Mary Beth. And so we can celebrate that, you know. And here's a new song that Mary Beth inspired too, you know, because we're still in the journey, and we're still, so it all works together. But yeah, there is a lot of insecurity that comes with it, you know, and that's just a reality. I mean, every artist, who is it, you know, artists like Madonna, somebody told me that they read a quote where she says, 1,000 compliments plus one criticism equals one criticism. That's all you remember. You know, it's like, oh man, I love this, but you know, that wasn't as it. That's all you remember, because that's that insecure part of us, you know. So pushing all of that aside, trying to silence all those voices and just say, God, what does it look like to just have these conversations, you know, that I get to still have with my friends? And that's really what these songs are. And just say, hey, man, there's been some amazing things. We've been to incredible places. You know, I'll play those songs, but here's kind of what I'm thinking about right now, you know, the fresh kind of just today. Here's what's happening in my life. You know, we do that with friends. Like, how you doing right now? How are you? You know, how's everything right now? So anyway, that's what's
So basically, you're saying if God puts a song on your heart, a message, something that you want to get out, you should not lose heart.
Yes, that's what I am saying, and that was so well said. And that was, see, the trained professional that he is. What he just did. This is a little side note. He just segued, into this. That was so good. Yeah. Yes. Hey,
Don't lose heart.
Don't lose heart. You know, so funny you would say that, because I actually have a song called "Don't Lose Heart."
It's brand new.
Can you believe that?
It's no Cinderella. It's better.
It's no Cinderella. It's even better. It is. Yes, it is a song. Interestingly, this song specifically came from, I was sitting with some new friends, new guys that I got to work with on this new music. One of the things I'm still trying to learn and stretch and grow, and you know, never rest on sort of, well, this is how I used to do it back in the day. I've always sort of pushed myself, and I love being a student of music. I listen to music, new music. You know, sometimes I don't get it, and I'm like, I don't really know what that is, but okay, I'm going to try to learn a little bit from it. My son's Colony House, if I may, band, my favorite band on the planet, who are making some of the most amazing music, I feel like some of the most creative music, and have inspired me with their music tremendously. But, you know, we talk a lot about just, you know, music and where it's going. And so trying to still learn and grow. So I'm sitting with some new guys that I got to write with. My sons actually helped me produce some of this new music. I got to take them in the studio, and which was so fun and so awesome. And we co-wrote some songs together. And then I got with a couple other guys who are brilliant songwriters, producers, a guy named Brian Fowler, a guy named Michael Kuiper, who work with Toby and a lot of the artists that you know are getting played on Christian radio and a lot making music now. Younger guys, and we sat together and I was like, guys, I really want to make, you know, these are the songs I've written, here's where they come from, here are the stories. But you know, I want to stretch and I want to learn and I want to kind of, you know, I want it to be as relevant as it can be musically. And so I'm telling the story of a lady. So one of the reasons why it's so important for me to do this, even though it would be easy to go, well, I don't know if the world needs another Steven Curtis Chapman song. I've written a lot of them, and maybe they don't really need that. And I said, but I need to do it because a few years ago, a lady in a concert, Q&A, question and answer before we did a concert, we had a little gathering, and she said, can I just tell you, your music has meant this to me. She said, several years ago, I was the biggest Christian music fan in the world. Listen to it all the time, play it in my house, play it in the car, sing along with every song. Praise You in the Storm, love Casting Crowns, love, she went through the list, Jeremy Camp, all these songs. And she said, and then I went through a devastating loss, and I lost a child. And she said, as a mom, walking through that, suddenly the grief was so deep, the pain, the confusion, the anger, my faith was just, the rug was pulled out from under me. And I believed God. I still said, God, I'm going to trust you. But music suddenly was so hard for me to listen to. All these songs that had meant so much to me, because every song I heard, there was this little voice that said, yeah, but they don't know your pain. It's one thing to say, I'm gonna praise you in this storm, but they're singing a storm about, I went through this really hard time, in this way, but I lost my little girl. I don't know if that storm, if they understand this storm. And so it alienated her from being able to listen to that music that had meant so much. And I understand. I understand and talk to Mary Beth about it. It's like, yes, these things that even, things that you've said for years, all of a sudden you filter it in a different way because you go, yeah, but I just went to a depth that I never could have imagined. And so she said, but when you and Mary Beth and your family walked through the loss of your daughter Maria, and you didn't stop singing, but you kept singing those songs. And in fact, you wrote songs out of that pain, and they were your psalms. And she said, your record that I made a recording called Beauty Will Rise, and just sang from my own pain and darkness and confusion. God, I'm going to trust that out of this darkness, beauty, out of these ashes, beauty is going to rise. And she said, that, because you did that, she said, I was able to hold on to my faith and believe those songs that you sang from your position of loss and grief. And she said, and that was the doorway for me, the conduit to get me back to being able to listen to Christian music again and be encouraged by it. And then to begin to realize, hey, everyone doesn't necessarily walk the same journey, but these things are true. But I took that, someone who I knew, which is the story again of the gospel, right? I mean, God, the Word became flesh and came and dwelt among us, and God would not just say, hey, I'm with you in this metaphorical way. He took on flesh and blood, made himself betrayable and fragile as a baby to be able to feel pain and feel fear and feel hunger and all those things. That's the amazing message of the gospel. That God came to be one of us, to feel that. And even the God of the universe would feel the loss of a son, his child. And so all of that, I think, for me, as I was sharing that with these guys that I was working on some music with, they said, man, we gotta write that song, that what that lady felt from you is just, you being able to say, don't lose heart. I know I've walked a journey of feeling hopeless, and there's not shame in that. That is the reality of living this life. You live long enough, you're gonna walk through things that are gonna challenge every bit of the things that you know and believe, but you're going to need someone to walk with you and say, hey, I'm not going to go anywhere, because ultimately remind us that God's not going to go anywhere. He's promised to not leave us or forsake us. So don't lose heart. Hold on, keep trusting, keep believing that He is at work, that He is good, that He's faithful. And so, it was just that really that brought this song, to life. It was just kind of this, putting an arm around a friend and saying, look, I know I'm going to be this for you today. And truth is, and I even say in the lyric, take my hand, I'll show you all the scars from where I've been, remind you how we both know this story ends, and I'll need you to do the same for me. Tomorrow I may be the one going, I don't know if I can do this. And they're going to say, hey, don't lose heart. Remember how the story ends. Remember, here's the truth. Don't forget, don't forget what's most true. God is faithful. God's good. So don't lose heart.
Don't lose heart. Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's the powerful message, because so many times when we see someone going through a challenging time, we want to have this perfect word, and especially I think in the church we get over analytical, when really there's not words.
Right.
You just hold them. You just spend time with them. And so this song is a hug to just be.
Yeah.
So thank you for writing.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome, brother.
When it comes to grief, help us understand where you are down the road from Maria's passing, and I guess just from the standpoint of, I've had people that have gone through things and other people that don't understand say, well, you should be over that by now.
Right.
Permission, there's no timetable here.
Yeah, and honestly, that's probably one of the things that many of these songs for this new recording were written out of this place of, 14 years now. Started writing these songs, a year or two ago, so 12, 13 years after our, that very tragic, devastating, unthinkable day when we lost Maria. And yet, there's, and no one obviously in our case has been nearly calloused enough or, thoughtless enough to say the words, aren't you over that by now? Because anybody with any sense knows you don't get over the loss of a child. But it's probably more a voice that you wrestle with of your own voice to say, I'm still really, my wife would use the word many times and still will use the word, I just still feel very stuck. I feel, even now, should I be better? Should I be at a different place? And the truth of grief and the words of Jesus, in this world you will have trouble. Take heart, I've overcome the world. All these things that we turn into bumper stickers a lot of times, or, refrigerator magnets, because they're so true. But the danger is that we kind of get them and it's like, oh yeah, man, in this world you're going to have trouble, but take heart, I've overcome the world. Let's get to the happy, good part. And in this world, you're going to have some trouble. Yeah, I remember when I had some trouble back there, but you know what? Look where I am now. Instead of the reality of, you look at the truth of Scripture and even those who follow Jesus and where the trouble that would ultimately lead, all of them, but one, even to to an untimely death, to being martyred for believing this hope, So, the reality is, as we walk through this life, in this world, Jesus said, we will have trouble. That's not lightweight. That's like trouble. We've seen it these last few years in our world as the pandemic, the loss. I've got a dear friend, played keyboards with me for years, that was supposed to be on tour with me and got COVID, and within 5 months he was gone. He's a young guy. I've got a brother-in-law who I was writing these songs as he was dying of 5 tumors, were cancerous brain tumors. And we found this out in May and he was gone by August. And so right while I was working on this music, every one of these songs I'm having to look and go, it was sort of pulling the scabs off of our own pain and taking us back to, where, 14 years ago we started walking. And yet that is the reality of grief. We carry it with us. What the Scripture talks about, we carry in us this grief and the death. There is a part of the reality of, on this side of the fall, that there's a dying going on around us and within us, at a decay. That's what the hope of the gospel is there's a story greater than that that's getting told. But it doesn't mean we stick our head in the sand and we don't, I think for us, even for Mary Beth and me to be honest about, we're 14 years into this journey, but every year that goes by, every new season of life, you watch your children struggle in a new way. We now have grandchildren that we wrestle with the realities of when do we, they know there was a Maria that they never knew, but they don't really know the story. They've not been old enough to begin to ask the story of, well, why is Maria not here? Why does she go to heaven? That's a terrifying thing to have to begin to introduce that into their lives and to realize that we carry that with us. And as a family, all the different layers of that. The hope is that the gospel is big enough and deep enough, and the love and grace of God is, in fact, deep enough to go to all those places. Corrie ten Boom, I saw a presentation recently of her life and a musical or a play called The Hiding Place that's recently been written. It's amazing. And in that story, there's a great quote that I've loved for years that Corrie ten Boom says, "There's no pit so deep that he is not deeper still." But we don't know that until we go to that pit. And sometimes we think, boy, this is as deep as it gets. And the truth is, a few years go by and you realize, wow, I think it's even deeper than I thought. Yeah. But we don't, until we go there, we don't really know, wait a minute, His grace, if we will trust Him, if we'll keep holding on to it and not lose heart, yes, we will find that even there, He is good. He is faithful. His grace is enough. And so that's the very long answer to that question. Where are we now in that journey of grief? We're 3 steps forward. We're 2 steps back. We're 5 steps forward. Oh, we're 20 steps back. I don't even know if we're going to survive it. I don't even know if we're going to make it. Then we're 40 steps forward and then 5 back. Oh, so we made some progress. That's the journey of life, isn't it? I think for all of us.
Well, and on behalf of everybody that you've shared your story with, thank you for doing that, because you didn't have to do that. You didn't have to be so transparent. I remember watching you on Larry King and all of the things that you've shared on all of these other platforms. And I know that your wife has said, we'd give it all back to have her back. I get that part, but that you've gone through and have continued to be so open. So thank you for that, because I think the enemy has this tool of wanting us to be isolated and feeling that we're alone. So thank you for being so transparent. That comes, that's not easy, but thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, Doug. You're welcome.